Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. Stop laughing at me. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I'm Sally Goodger.
I almost said I'm Sally Goodger.
You could be me. That's
No,
fine.
that was the next thing in my head, so that's what I had to say.
You
okay.
can do my job tomorrow. How about that?
No.
Oh, rude.
So we read the first 56 pages, aka the prologue. And, just as a fun reminder, prologues should never be 56 pages. This isn't even the longest prologue in the Wheelie Time series, which is disheartening.
Robert Jordan is a criminal.
Yeah, my dad's a ranch dressing criminal. Robert Jordan is a prologue criminal. They should all be sent to middle-aged man jail. Okay, so in the prologue, we get quite a few bad points of view. In fact, I would say they're all bad.
They are all, four of my least favorite characters.
Yeah,
Four,
we get...
5?
There are, I believe, 6 points of view.
Oh, see? Counting.
We get Aleda, Savannah, Alviarin, Pedronile, Valda, and Gawyn.
I completely forgot about the White Cloaks. So it's 6 of my least favorite characters.
Yeah, so we're technically bouncing between 3 settings.
Yeah.
The White Tower, Dumai's Wells, immediately after / during the battle. We're kind of doing a retro or a retcon there. And the White Cloak place, which I can never remember. Amador is the city. I don't care.
They're in the White Cloak shithole.
Yeah, we're in the White Cloak.
The Fortress of the Light.
Fortress of Solitude.
Ugh.
I wish they would just stay there.
Yeah.
If you hear a lot of page crinkling, it's because these are the Diet Coke pages.
Sorry.
The prologue is called Lightnings. I don't know why, and I don't care why. Moving right along. So, rather than go point of view by point of view, because they're all kind of separated, we'll go place by place, kind of.
Sounds good. Yep.
So, the White Tower.
Correct.
Yeah, it's pretty grim.
We'll get into it, but reading Aleda points of view are physically painful because her incompetence is just staggering.
Yeah.
And her, much like Chris Jusha, her decision making is impaired. She is ridiculous.
There's a part, it goes from Aleda to Alviarin, and there's a part where Alviarin is anyone who's spent any time with Aleda knows she's very intelligent. And I was like, what? I've spent 6 books with her, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would have said she's the world's biggest dummy, you know? Just because a person has power and knows how to get power doesn't mean that they're smart. Look at Donald Trump.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of the reason why reading Aleda is so insufferable, is because I'm I think as a child reading her points of view, I was like, this would never happen. Because, I had an idealized view of government.
Yeah.
Because I was 12. And all you're taught is that George Washington was perfect.
Yeah.
Jesus, basically. But now I'm like, oh yeah, this truly does just happen.
Yeah.
The miracle is that it doesn't happen more.
Yeah. People just fail upwards all the time.
Yeah, just by being big bullies.
Yeah.
So sad.
It's hard to read, for sure.
So setting the time, Aleda tells us that the Feast of Lights has gone past. You might remember the Feast of Lights. Perrin and Gaul walked through the Feast of Lights when they were crossing the river to go find Rand.
Yeah.
And Aleda, at the beginning of this, has just received a message from Galena. I think that was a special code to be we got the Dragon Reborn, lady. Mm-hmm. So Aleda is obviously behind the times. We the readers, know that either Dumai's Wells is, like, literally happening right now or has just happened.
Yeah.
Based on timelines.
Yeah.
But Aleda does not yet know that it has been a disaster, so she is triumphant because she thinks Rand is on his way to the White Tower. Speaking of the White Tower itself, Aleda now spends all her time in her rooms, so she is self-isolating like every good ruler does. She doesn't like to leave, and no one likes it when she comes down.
Yeah.
So that tells you a lot. She has also ordered the construction of the Amerlin's Tower, which is just going to be an even bigger tower than the White Tower, but only for the Amerlin. And I'm like, the White Tower houses hundreds upon hundreds of rooms, if not thousands.
Yeah.
Your house, every Aes Sedai has a fancy suite. There are all these kitchens, all the novices and accepted. I assume there's classrooms, studies, libraries, writing. And you want to put one lady in something that big? But again, Trump Tower, that's all she's doing that's what she wants.
Yeah.
Obviously she's deluded. The Mason, the chief Mason, is basically like, that can't happen with our current technology. And she's just like, it will happen. And I'm like, okay, have fun.
Yeah, like, rip to this guy who has to figure out how to build a literal skyscraper.
Now, Aleda, who is implied / canonically a lesbian, is also described variously as handsome and is given many quote-unquote masculine qualities. So her fixation on phallic symbols is a pretty obvious little thing there. I wrote in the margins, the higher he built his tower. Just like in, some of you may have seen the seminal work by Guy Ritchie. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. And my friend Devin's favorite line to quote from that is, the higher he builds his tower, the more his power grows. Because it's, like, obviously a phallic thing.
Oh, so much so.
It's like nothing has ever been more obviously a phallic thing.
Yeah. The bigger your dick is, the more power you have.
Yeah, but that is also what's funny about it when it happens in King Arthur Legend of the Sword is that they are really just taking a trope that has been subtextual in most works and kind of shoving it a little more out into the spotlight. Mm-hmm. It's funny because this is in everything. Anytime there's an evil character or even a good character, they sort of end up in a tower. Every wizard has a tower, you know? You've got Sauron's big tower. It's just sort of a thing for evil people. They want to be in towers.
I wonder where that comes from.
I don't know. I could have looked it up on tvtropes.org, I suppose, but I think it might be towers are classically symbols of, what's the word I'm looking for? Hubris? A la the Tower of Babel from
there you go.
The Old Testament. And probably a lot of other things.
No, you're so smart.
But yeah, towers are just supposed to be like, pride cometh before the fall, yo.
Yeah.
So Aleda spending all her time at the tippy top of the tower is meant to indicate that to us.
Yeah, I also, this is just sort of a fleeting thought, but I find it really interesting in this series when people are, building things. Mm-hmm. Because it's juxtaposed so frequently with ruins. And so, of course, that's, a manifestation of this theme of the wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, where it's you build, things are created and destroyed, and that's just the cycle of nature and civilization. So it's just interesting, I think.
Yeah, Aleda has a whole lot of symbolism meant to indicate her sort of place in world history. There's the fact that she is keeping flowers alive forcibly by magic. I also highlighted something at the very beginning of the book, which is the epitaph, that we didn't cover in our last episode, although we probably should have, but here's the epitaph. There can be no health in us, nor any good thing grow, for the land is one with the dragon reborn, and he one with the land. Soul of fire, heart of stone, in pride he conquers, forcing the proud to yield. He calls upon the mountains to kneel, and the seas to give way, and the very skies to bow. Pray that the heart of stone remembers tears, and the soul of fire love.
Barf.
Which, barf. But it does have the line in there, the land is one with the dragon reborn, and he won with the land. We've referenced Rand's Fisher King wounds quite a few times, but if you're not familiar with Arthurian myth, the Fisher King, or the Grail King sometimes, is a guy who has some sort of, unhealable injury, and the Grail quest is about helping him to die in some instances, or heal him, whatever, and you get the Grail.
Yeah.
But the reason he's wounded, he's wounded in conjunction with the land he has ruled over being damaged or destroyed. Kings are always connected to their lands. That's in both myth and in, Shakespeare. I just read Richard II, and there's quite a bit about Richard II being deposed because he neglects the land.
Interesting.
And a lot of, literary parallels to that. So, the fact that the world, not just the political situation, but the weather, all of the whack stuff that happens is not just, obviously we're the long-lasting summer is because of the Dark One, but it is also a trope that Robert Jordan is playing out in having, food is going to be decomposing at a serious rate, rats are going to be everywhere, it's going to be unbearably hot, then unbearably cold, all because stuff is messed up with Rand. Things are a reflection of that. When Rand has his epiphany moment in book 13, 12? At the end of book 12. Sorry. I don't remember how this series goes. The next thing he does is walk into, a dying apple orchard, and immediately all the, apples come to life or whatever,
Okay.
And
That
he
is a
he does
hilarious
that.
image.
It's so funny.
Of Rand, Johnny Appleseed, all
Yes.
four.
Apples of all things, Yeah. But, then after that, wherever Rand goes, miraculously things come back to life.
Okay.
So, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. No, that was brilliant.
As opposed to Aleda, who is notably doing nothing about the weather.
Yeah.
And that's quite a funny thing, actually, is that there are so many people in positions of power. It's quite a lot like climate change. There are a lot of people in positions of power who are this is definitely fucked up. And this is definitely an omen or a sign of some sort. But for some reason, only Nynaeve and Elaine, two dummies, two absolute dim-witted idiots, were maybe we can fix this.
I can fix the weather.
Yeah, only Elena's got her giant tower, yet her pride is outmatched by Elaine. I can fix anything. Sure can't. I can fix anything, including Rand al'Thor.
Girl, you can't.
No, you can't. She's so dumb.
Yeah, no, but that is very interesting. Obviously, Aleda and Rand function as foils for each other.
Yeah.
The way also Aleda and Egg function as foils for each other.
Everybody's foils with each other in a cast of characters this big.
Yeah, it's just a massive web of lies. Yeah, but it's interesting bringing up your, Fisher King thing that Aleda is artificially keeping the land together.
Aleda's not actually doing anything to sustain the land.
There's no mythological spiritual connection between Aleda and the land that she rules over. It is all just sort of pulled into her grip. And it's also very interesting the way she is building a tower versus Rand, who is building things like the school and
libraries.
Libraries and stuff like that. So it's just
the Black Tower, which everyone views as sort of it's not actually a tower.
Yeah, no, I was literally just about to, that's what I was thinking of. It's the Black Tower is currently just kind of a sprawling thing.
Yeah, and the Black Tower is also very intentionally something Rand does to, as we've seen, it immediately turn into a school for war criminals.
Yeah.
But Rand did have an interesting intent, sort of parallel to his need to create weapons, which was that he really did want to create a refuge for men who could channel.
Yeah.
Because Rand has this ultimate goal of cleansing Sidon. Mm-hmm. So, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that again in a minute. This scene basically is Alviren coming in to give some reports. A huge chunk of the scene is just talking about the weird power dynamics between them. It is obvious that Alviren is holding back information from Aleda, trying to make Aleda look like an idiot, does not respect Aleda, and of course all of this makes Aleda irate.
Yeah.
But she's incompetent, so she can't put Alviren in her place. You know, she just kind of has to deal with it.
Yeah.
Among other things, Alviren reports that Elaine and Nynaeve have been seen in Ebu Dar. Elaida dismisses this until Alviren, like, produces a sketch from a sketch artist, which is hilarious. They also mention Teslin and Jolene, the two representatives from the White Tower who are in Ebu Dar. And there's this line that's just chock full of foreshadowing. It says, "Nobody cared what happened in Ebu Dar, Elaida least of all. The capital of Altara could fall into the sea, and except for the merchants, not even the rest of Altara would notice." And boy, is that pretty true. The Shanshan invade Ebu Dar, and everyone does fucking nothing. Like,
seriously.
It's not like Rand is like, "Oh no, Ebu Dar has fallen, I must avenge them."
Yeah.
He's like, "What? Who?"
Like, who's Ebu Dar?
The only one who cares is Matt, and it's because he's there.
Yeah. It's very true.
We're given a little bit of background on Teslin and Jolene. Teslin's a red sitter, who has been a sitter for quite a while. Jolene is a green sitter who was made a sitter really recently. Exiling them to Ebu Dar was a power play on Elaida's part, which, since all of her power plays are petty and meaningless, has done nothing but infuriate women.
Yeah, I mean...
She's just bullying people at this point.
She's a horrible person.
Uh-huh. Yup. Alviren's like, "You really want Elaine back, though, because of this prophecy about how the Royal House of Andor held the key to winning the last battle." Now, what I find very funny about that is that it says Elaida had the foretelling, sometimes, a talent many thought lost before, and long ago, she had foretold that the Royal House of Andor held the key to winning the last battle. And it sounds like she made that prophecy before Morgoth was on the throne. In which case, the Royal House of Andor was not Morgoth's house.
Was not the Trakand family.
But was, in fact, obviously Rand's mother, who
Yeah.
ran away to the Ale Waste.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that. Maybe she did prophesy that the Trakans specifically hold the key, in which case I think Robert Jordan tries to fulfill that by, you know, making Elaine a main character, although I wouldn't say she holds the key to winning the last battle.
No.
Like, in the slightest.
Yeah.
They have the cannons at one point? I don't know. I would need more explanation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rather that it was made clear to us, oh, this was just a reference to Rand. Because that is an interesting commentary about, you know, the inability of prophets to interpret their own prophecies.
Yeah, absolutely.
For example, Elaida then has another foretelling that is something about the White Tower will be whole again and everyone will kneel to the Amberlin seat. Blah, 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 blah. And to anyone reading the damn book series, there are no names mentioned. Elaida?
Yeah, like, girl.
It's not like, me, the Amberlin seat, I will remain triumphant. It's like, the Amberlin seat could be anyone. There's also no timeline given, girl.
No timeline.
Sisters will walk the grounds of the Black Tower. Sure, that could happen in 200 years, you know?
Yeah. Like, yeah, the White Tower could be at war for 500 years.
Yeah, but Elaida immediately interprets this as, I am going to be triumphant no matter what happens, so I don't have to do anything. So when Alviren reports, like, hey, it turns out the Salidar Aes Sedai are on their way here with a big army led by Gareth Bryn. Maybe we should increase our army. Elaida's like, no, that's a joke. Everyone's gonna desert. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's this spin on a self-fulfilling prophecy where usually people try to avoid the prophecy and therefore fulfill it. But Elaida is just like, I don't need to do anything at all because the prophecy exists. So whatever I do, the prophecy will be fulfilled.
Yeah, and Elaida has this reasoning that they won't be successful because not even they, the Solidar Aes Sedai, believe that they'll be successful.
Yeah.
If they did believe that they had the right cause, then they would have, you know, actually taken a risk with electing a full sister to be the Amberlin seat, because apparently falsely being the Amberlin seat is a crime worthy of stilling, which I don't think anyone told Egg before sticking her on the Amberlin seat. Although she is a smart gal and has a tutor, so I'm sure she knows by now. There's also some subtext here that if you're me, you could read this book 6 times and skim right over it. But it is referenced, Aleda and Alviren both represent several times some sort of incident that happened in the past that led to a few Red sisters being exiled, including Tovine, the woman who they are now sending to the Black Tower in front of a contingent of Aes Sedai. And like Alviren talks about a former Amerlin being murdered. And now all of that is connected, which I did not find out until I read the Wikipedia page on it.
Okay.
This is pretty important, and I'm pretty mad at Robert Jordan for not really talking about it in the series proper. I think a little bit of it is delved into in New Spring.
Okay.
But if you, like Sally, have not read New Spring, or like me, have only read it once, and that was 10 years ago, bad luck.
Yeah.
So, the woman who prophesied that the dragon had been reborn dropped dead as soon as she gave the prophecy. She gave the prophecy in front of Swan, Moiraine, and the current Amerlin seat. Somehow or another, rumors began to spread about the dragon being reborn. And all of the members of the Black Aja in the tower immediately overreacted. And were like, okay, well, obviously we have to kill him, but we don't know who he is, or what. We don't have any more context. So they tortured the Amerlin seat in an attempt to find out. She didn't give them anything except that the dragon had been reborn. Didn't say he was reborn literally that minute when the prophecy came out. So as far as the Black Aja know, he's a grown man wandering around. And then she dies, and the Black Aja made it look like an accident. And, you know, new Amerlin seat is elected. Da-da-da-da-da. Stuff goes on. But their way of dealing with it was to weaponize the Red Aja and get them to start gentling men, like, on the spot. As soon as they found men who could channel. They were, like, doing bad things, like discreetly assassinating men who could channel, who they thought might be the Dragon Reborn, or doing assassination by mob, by being like, gentle a man, then proclaim to his, you know, sad, prejudiced village, this guy could channel, and then they all either just kick him out of the village to die of exposure, or kill him.
Yeah.
Really brutal, sad stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the Aes Sedai just don't know about this period, because it was so under wraps. It was like the Red Aja doing stuff, all sort of helmed by the Black Aja undercover. And the hilarious part is that when Ishmael found out what they were doing, he flipped his fucking lid. Which Alviren references as, she says, my predecessor, and references her predecessor interacting with Ishmael and dying horribly due to an incident with a terangrial, which is, you know, what Ishmael made it look like, but really he was just killing her.
Yeah.
So he killed the former head of the Black Aja and appointed Alviren to take her place, which is how Alviren is now in that position. All of it I find really interesting in terms of, oh, that's not even the last bit. This only ended when who should be gentled and cast out of his village but Owen, Tom Merrilyn's nephew. Oh. And Tom Merrilyn was like, that ain't kosher. Went to the court of Caemlyn, where, you know, he was Morgoth's live-in mistress.
Yeah.
And yelled at Aleda and called basically all of the Aes Sedai out for doing this shit. So basically he, you know, Martin Luther, 97 theses, 96 theses? 93.
Many theses.
I can't remember. Basically he spotlighted it.
Good for you, Tom Merrilyn.
Yeah, all of which is way more interesting in terms of Tom's character.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything going on in the White Tower that contextualizes, like, a lot of what the Black Aja is doing.
Yeah.
It also tells us that oh, Moiraine and Swan have actually had some, like, competition in terms of finding the Dragon Reborn. To them, this was a really risky thing.
Yeah.
They were the only two people in the world at the moment who knew that he'd been born as a baby.
Yeah.
So they knew to look in the right age group.
Yeah.
So it's just like... Sorry, that was a really long-winded history lesson of the White Tower. Then I'm like, wow, that was fascinating. If only Robert Jordan had told me about it instead of making oblique references to it in his Aes Sedai points of view.
No, that was very interesting. Especially, like, I would... Tybalt, don't rub your face on the microphone. Am currently... I mean, Tom's still on thin ice most of the time, but, like, that's a fascinating thing about Tom's character.
Yeah.
And, like, you also get these, like, oblique references to Tom being thrown out of Camelin.
Yeah, apparently it was because he yelled at Aleda's face. That's fascinating.
That's fascinating and very sexy of him. More people should yell at Aleda.
Yeah, for his nephew, which, like, I relate, man.
Yeah, you kidding me? If someone had done that to my nephew, I'd be, like, garrote on sight.
I'd be like Kill Bill sirens, you know? And I'm just like, that is fascinating. That, like, this movement in the White Tower, this underground Black Aja thing, was taken down by one, you know, random court bard.
Yeah.
Whose nephew got murdered.
Yeah.
I
love that. And
That's
Robert
really
Jordan's like, you know what matters more?
Women dying and that affecting Tom to kill kings.
Exactly.
I'm like, women dying and then Tom immediately being like, well, I'll kill the king. Makes a lot more sense when you find out, like, oh, his nephew died. He tried to do something about it.
Yeah.
Morgoth didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And to his point of view, there was no visible change.
Yeah.
It was all happening in such secret that...
He was like, so now it's time to murder monarchs.
Yeah, so he was like, all right, in order to get things done, I just gotta do murder.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Valid.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you gotta take extreme measures.
Anyway, so if you want to read that Wikipedia article, I recommend it, and then reread these points of view. Then Alviarin leaves, and is like, ah, dang, that wasn't as productive as I would have liked. She also is sort of thrown off by Aleda's foretelling, although one wants to believe that Alviarin's smarter than that. She hasn't proved it, so guess not. Alviarin goes back to her rooms and is immediately confronted by Missana, who disguises herself and even disguises her ability to channel, which Alviarin has reasoned means that she is a woman in the White Tower. Mm-hmm. Presumably one of the sisters. And actually we see her alias. Her alias is mentioned. Alviarin passes her. A woman named Danelle. A dreamy brown sister who had been part of bringing down Swan Sanche and raising Aleda.
There you go.
So there you go. But Alviarin repeats everything that happened to Missana. She sort of references, I'm in a bad situation because any of the Forsaken at any time could come into the White Tower, give me conflicting orders.
Yeah.
Then I'm stuck, you know. Ishmael's been in here. Lanfear and Grendel. I don't know what Grendel was doing. That's just thrown in there.
Yeah.
We know Lanfear was there, but whatever. Alviarin does also tell us that she's not going to send any Black Sisters with Tovine to the Black Tower, which is mostly just like sort of a little tidbit for those of you who, you know, are familiar with the series and know what happens at the Black Tower later.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, fascinating. The like percentages of women who can channel on which side of the war becomes very important later in the book. Later in the series, excuse me. Missana rounds out her little lecture by teaching Alviarin how to travel, but also making her promise that she won't teach anyone else and won't use it unless Missana gives her the okay.
Yeah.
So that's there. Savannah brings us through Dumai's Wells from the Shadow point of view. Some tidbits there. We find out that the Shadow defeat was as bad as it was because Savannah took the reins entirely and was like, no scouts, no screens, we're all just gonna attack at the same time. And all the experienced battle people were like, that's a dumb idea. And she was like, too bad.
I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. Like Aleda, I'm a power-hungry woman who wants a penis. That's in Robert Jordan's world. Women really do have penis envy. I know. So bad. Sivana also is using as motivation for the Shadow to attack the Aes Sedai the death of a wise one named Desane, who Sivana and some wise ones did in fact murder.
Yeah.
This leads one to the question of how did Sivana convince these wise ones to murder her?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems to me very obviously a way for her to have leverage over them. Like, why would they just kill a wise one? Especially when we find out it's a huge taboo.
Yeah. I don't know. It is wild.
Mind-boggling. But she keeps being like, we're doing it for Desane. And then, like, making awkward eye contact with Thorava, who's like, I murdered Desane in front of you.
Like, we killed that bitch.
You killed that bitch? And you're just blatantly using that?
Yeah. Not only did you kill her, but you are just pulling her name out whenever you need to.
Yeah. Whatever. Sivana tells us that she wants to rape Rand so that she can have daughters and sons to lead the Ale, because she wants to adopt the, quote, wetlander, unquote, notion of patrilineal, patrilineage. We then flip over to Gawyn after the battle. Lots of his guys are dead. He's so sad. He's like, I wish I'd killed Rand, but I couldn't because I promised Egg. And it's like, okay, what a dumb reason.
Yeah. Okay, maybe be quiet.
He is like looking through his telescope that touchingly is inscribed by his mother. From Her Highness Morgoth to her beloved son Gawyn.
I know, it's like, if my mom gave me this, I'd be like, you don't actually love me.
I'd be like, did you have to look my name up?
Yeah, do you know?
Do you have to ask your secretary what my name is?
Yeah, do you know my
Your
birthday?
Highness?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Shut up.
Anyway, he's looking through his little spyglass, and he sees an Aes Sedai fleeing the battle. This is implied to be Galena, although no determining characteristics are given, but we know that Galena gets captured by the Shadow, like this woman, and I think she's pretty much the only Aes Sedai who does.
Yep.
From Dumai's Wells. But that leaves Gawyn off on his own with a bunch of boys. Last and certainly least, we have the White Cloaks. Pedro Nile is playing fantasy chess with Morgoth when his fake spy master, not the real one, comes in and is like, I've got a special message for you. And Pedro Nile's like, okay, Morgoth, you gotta go, you young whippersnapper. And she's like, please, sir, may I see my son Glad? And he's like, no, you witch.
You're a witch.
You're a witch. And also, we're just two smart people playing this dumb game of politics where you have no power and I have all the power, and you're just trying to, like, flirt with me and, you know, do whatever it takes to get out of this situation that you voluntarily put yourself in. Like, not to victim blame, you know, but Morgoth did 100% say several books ago, let's not go to any of my lords and allies in Andor. I would like to go to the White Cloaks, the worst possible place.
Yeah, like, literally, Morgoth chose going to the White Cloaks over just, like, becoming a normal person.
Yeah.
And so it's like, maybe, what?
I don't have a lot of sympathy for her. I'll just say that.
It's hard in that plotline when she's like, this sucks. I've been trapped by the White Cloaks. And it's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. What did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah. So Morgoth leaves. Pedro Nile is opening his little message when his secretary stabs him. He's like, oh, Doc. He collapses. Then Valda comes in and kills the secretary.
The spy master.
The spy master, sorry. I'm talking about a guy whose name I can't remember, not Balwer.
Yeah, Anti-Balwer.
Yeah, Anti-Balwer. A very handsome man, we're told. So despite Valda being the one who no doubt put this guy up to it,
Yeah, Valda still murders
Valda
him.
kills him because he can be like, oh, I've killed the murderer of the Lord Captain Commander or whatever, so now I'm obviously the next White Cloak Commander. Pedro Nile's last attempts in this life are to get the message that he has received read. The message is from yet another person in Terabon who's like The Shanshin are coming. The Shanshin are coming. Because Pedronile didn't believe the last guy who tried to tell him this for, like, 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, this has been a subplot for, like, a book and a half.
Yeah.
And Pedron's like, someone needs to know the Shanshin are coming. But, of course, it gets all stained because of wine or blood or whatever. So Valda can't read it. So no one knows the Shanshin are coming. So, yeah, Shanshin is very easily going to take over Amadicia. Which doesn't decimate the White Cloaks as much as you'd like it to, huh?
Yeah, what if, like, if the Shanshin did one thing for me, personally, it would be to get rid of the White Cloaks.
If the Shanshin just ate the White Cloaks midway through this series, and we're like, bye, no more White Cloaks, I'd be like, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, they were like,
I mean,
we're gonna...
you guys still suck, but thanks for that one.
Yeah, that was a real one.
If Galad was the sole survivor of the White Cloak massacre and was like, oh my god. It was so scary.
It was so scary.
I need to find comfort in the arms of my lover. Matt.
Yeah, but if the Shanshin just, like, fed all the White Cloaks to their weird pterodactyl things.
Yeah, that would be nice, I think.
And it was just like, chomp, chomp, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Bye. Galad could get eaten, too.
Galad is a sacrifice I'm willing to make for the eradication of all the White Cloaks, you know?
Yeah.
Like, at this point, I will pay the piper, man.
Yeah, I mean, what's he really doing besides being hot, you know?
Incredibly sexy man in order to get rid of all of the incels.
This is our sacrificial lamb, the hottest man in the world.
Who's the hottest man in the world right now? Like Idris Elba? Is that generally the consensus?
Sure.
That's just who I hear most often.
Yeah, I feel like everyone is mad horny for him. There's some Olympians people are, like, mad horny for right now.
I just feel like if everyone was like, would you give up Idris Elba in order to solve the various problems of toxic masculinity?
I'd be like, I'm sorry, Idris, but...
I'd be like, bye. I'd be like that gif. It's like holding the gun and crying, you know? Pull the trigger, piglet.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Idris, you're so sexy, but
he really is
we have to take toxic masculinity out of the world.
I'd definitely give up a white Chris.
Yeah,
easy.
for sure. Chris Evans, gone. Chris Hemsworth, gone.
Bye. Chris Pine, bleh, don't even talk about it. Chris Pratt, already dead. Chris Pratt dies when the other Chris is sacrificed because he's one of the bad ones.
That's a good point. He's one of the White Cloak incels. Nazi, fascist, horrible, garbage people.
Yep. So Pedronile dies in his own blood. Gross.
Nasty.
Then Valda's like, I'm the Lord Captain Commander. Well, first Asunwa, the, High Inquisitor or whatever, comes in and is like, actually, you're not going to be the Lord Captain Commander unless you give Morgas to me. And Valda's like, I've already outmaneuvered you and gotten the votes, the Vatican, whatever those are.
The Vatican, oh yeah, the, like, little popes.
The cardinal votes.
The little popes.
The little popes. It's the squeakquel to the young pope, the new pope, the little pope, and it's an 8-year-old boy.
The little pope.
Or someone who's like 5 feet tall. There's a very short pope.
But yeah, Valda's got all the people to, like, light the red smoke or whatever.
So Asun was like, oh, dang, I guess I can't have more goss. And Valda's like, yeah, I was never going to be an option because I want to sexually assault her, etc., etc. And it's like, wow, what a horrible plot line.
Yeah, I'm just gonna...
So anyway, there's a new mean white cloak at the helm, and it doesn't matter at all. Literally nothing changed.
I was gonna say, like, Valda is, like, slightly more rapey than Pedronile, and that's about the only difference.
Pedronile hasn't done shit. He keeps telling us that he's done shit, but it sure doesn't seem like the White Cloaks had any influence on what went on.
No.
So either he's extremely good at, removing himself from the equation and making it look like someone else did his dirty work, or he's not actually doing anything, which is what I'm inclined to believe.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. Sorry that was super long. I guess I'll cut out my dad's ranch dressing story.
That'll be such a good one for the patrons, though.
Yeah.
Or we can just have an hour-long episode.
No. That was the prologue. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the blooper reel.
To learn about Chris and ranch dressing. horrifying.
I don't know which chapters we're reading next week. I can't remember. But our reading schedule is on our website, everybodyhatesrand.com. You can find it there and read along with us, or just find out what we're reading next. Thanks again. Thanks to Glenn and Mackenzie for our theme song. Also, sorry I forgot it last week. Also, sorry...
You didn't forget it last week.
I didn't?
No, it was in the podcast. I listened to a little bit of it.
No. I mean, sorry I forgot to thank her.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant, like, the whole theme song.
No, I remember the intro. I felt like if I had forgot the intro in our first episode back, that would have been... I would have heard about it immediately.
Yeah.
No, sorry I forgot to thank you last week, Glenna. Thanks for our supporters on Patreon. Reminder that our Patreon... Oh, fuck, I didn't change that.
Never mind.
Okay, our Patreon tiers haven't changed yet, but I'm going to. They will have changed by the time this episode comes out.
Yeah, I did select the appropriate tiers for my blogs, so that's the only thing that's changed.
Stupid. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's hard when we haven't been doing this for several months to be like, actually there are 5 million pieces to juggle in order to keep this ding dong podcast alive, and it's a little unbelievable.
I just have to add it to my to-do list real quick. Edit to EHR Patreon. My bad. Okay, anyway, thanks. Do you have a sign off?
Oh, yeah, boy, my life has been a fucking nightmare, so I've got tons.
No, give us one.
I'm currently watching one of my coworkers' cats and her house, and she has these really whack curtains. There's like the green curtain that's like the nice thick fabric, and then behind it, closest to the window for some reason, is like these meshy type curtains. I don't really understand what the point of it is. She has a ton of plants, so it might be like a plant thing. But I'm supposed to open them in the morning and close them at night. And this morning I went to open the mesh curtains and I ripped one. So there's like a little hole in it.
No,
about yay big. And I don't know what to do. Like, do I tell her? I assume she'll see.
Just don't mention it.
Guys, what is wrong with me?
I feel like if they're that easily rippable, then...
I don't know what happened.
It's a liability issue, you know?
Yeah, I was just like...
Classic house
And then her
sitting.
17-year-old ancient cat was just watching me break the house.
Sometime I'll tell the story about how I watched our neighbor's dog overnight because they had anxiety or something after my Blockbuster shift, and then they tried to pay me in Zupa's gift cards. Anyway, goodbye.
Bye.